The Supreme Court is likely to hear a case involving the state of Ohio and how the state purged its voter rolls, I should say, of 2 million individuals, most of which usually vote Democrat. Now, Ohio is fighting for the right to send notices to any voters who missed 2 federal elections, inquiring if they have moved, passed away, or become otherwise ineligible to vote. If the voter does not respond and continues to miss federal elections, he or she then would be removed from the voter rolls. Now, under the Obama administration, the Attorney General indicated that they were against the purging of voter rolls in such a manner, especially because it disproportionately impacted people who usually vote for the Democrats. However, things are a little different under Attorney General Jeff Sessions. In fact, the Department of Justice has just switched sides in this voting rights case. Now, let me give you some more details in regard to what Ohio did, just so you have a better sense of how it impacted this past election. Now, over the past 5 years, Ohio has purged nearly 2 million voters from its rolls. Some of those voters were legitimately removed because they either died or left the state. But a 2016 investigation by Reuters found that low-income Black Democratic voters were disproportionately purged. So another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the major cities in Ohio were most impacted by this, including Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, where voters have been removed from the rolls in Democratic-leaning neighborhoods at about twice the rate as in Republican neighborhoods. Now, of course, Republicans will argue, well, we're doing this because of voter fraud, but study after study indicates that voter fraud is not an issue. In fact, if you look at anecdotal evidence, whenever there is an instance of voter fraud, it's usually an individual who leans Republican. And so this is obviously an orchestrated attack against Democratic voters, and that is the reason why the 6th US Circuit Court of Appeals found those purges to be illegal in September of 2016, siding with the ACLU of Ohio and groups that represent homeless Ohioans and communities of color. So, of course, the state of Ohio has repealed that decision, which is why this case is likely to go to the Supreme Court. But the thing to keep in mind here is that the DOJ, under Attorney General Jeff Sessions, has completely reversed its opinion on this. They are supportive of Ohio doing what it's doing to its voters.
No career civil rights attorney signed on to the brief, meaning the professionals inside the Justice Department said, no, we do not agree that you should disproportionately hit African Americans, the poor, and Democratic voters for your political purposes. That is not something I, as a civil rights attorney, am going to sign on to. So the Justice Department switched over to becoming the Injustice Department. So is there a valid part of taking some voters off of rolls systematically? Yes, people die, people move. So there is a process by which you do that. But you do that in a way that is proportional and fair.
Yes.
Now, what they're doing here in Ohio is voting fraud, not voter fraud, but voting fraud on a mass scale. They know that they're hitting African Americans and Democrats disproportionately. They know that they're eliminating twice as many, that's a fact. It's an absolute fact. They're eliminating twice as many Democratic voters. Okay, first of all, they think, oh, well, who cares, I wanna win. Okay, good, then you're on the side of voting fraud. You're very, very clear. I don't care that they're real voters. I don't care that they're not dead. I don't care that they didn't move. And I don't care that it hits blacks twice as hard. Now you can say, hey, I don't mean to be racist. I'm just taking away blacks' right to vote because it suits me. Wow, are you not a great person? Well, I didn't know that you were that decent. The effect of your action is, by the way, yes, clearly racist. If you take votes away from blacks and you know you're doing it and you do it at twice the rate because you like to win elections, I don't care what your intent is, your actions are clearly fucking racist.
Right,
okay?
And by the way, obviously this doesn't just impact African Americans or African American voters in the state. It's essentially every group that typically votes in favor of Democrats who are running in these elections. But look, you gotta take everything in context as well. It's not like this is an isolated case in Ohio and there aren't other instances of Republican lawmakers or Republicans in general attempting to do away with the voting rights of people who typically vote for Democrats. This has been a strategy that's been in the works since the 2012 election. Right, where they wanted to pass these voter ID laws because they claimed, oh, voter fraud is just running rampant. It's not running rampant. Again, study after study indicates that we do not have an issue with voter fraud. But they wanted to pass those voter ID laws. They wanted to make it extremely difficult for students who go to other states to get their education to be able to vote. Because guess what? If you're getting your education in a state that you didn't typically live in, well then why are you gonna go out there and get a driver's license or an ID in that state? It's gonna be very difficult for that person to vote, right? That's just another example of people who are being targeted by these ridiculous voter fraud campaigns.
Okay, so if, I know Democrats never fight back if it's against Republicans. First of all, let's be clear about a couple of things. So John Kasich is supposed to be the reasonable, moderate Republican. He's the governor of Ohio. This is happening under him. So John Kasich, nice racist move. And stop crying about, oh, race baiting. What, I just stripped all these blacks from the ability to vote. Just like we used to do in the civil rights era and Jim Crow era. What, why are you calling me a racist? Oh, my feelings are hurt because you called me a racist. Well, I'm stripping away the rights of African Americans to vote. No, yeah, that's why I'll call you what you are, okay? Second of all, this is cheating. I don't know, you say, okay, I'm not gonna let your voters vote. Okay, that's fucking voting fraud. So, by the way, Democrats, look, I know it's not the right thing to do, so you don't, but you've got to fight back. You've either got to call them what they are, and you've got to fight back in every imaginable way, or find a neighboring Democratic state led by a Democratic governor and go, you know what? Oh, I think you're right about voting fraud. I'm going to take away Republicans' votes in Republican districts 2-1. Oh, you're a white evangelical and you voted for Trump at an 81% clip? Oh man, there's a lot of white evangelicals who died. White evangelicals died too. They also move. We got to make sure we got to clean up the rolls. We got to clean up the voting rolls. That's it. Oh, look at that. I cleaned out twice as many Republicans as Democrats. What a wonderful coincidence. Same fucking move you just did. And then watch them cry and cry and cry. How could you do this? This is unfair. Goddamn right it is. You want to play unfair? Let's play unfair, okay? So every Democratic governor, fuck it, purge your rolls. Purge them of Republicans. Then don't do it 2-1. Do it 4-1. Make them fucking howl, okay? Until they go, you're right, you're right, you're right. My bad. You're right. We won't do these voter purges because it's illegal. It is wrong. It is immoral. It is undemocratic. It is un-American, and it has the effect of discriminating against certain populations. And most importantly, it's voting fraud on a mass scale. So, but no, Democrats aren't going to do anything like that, and then they're just going to go, oh golly gee, don't do that. Oh gosh. And they're going to do it, and they're going to win elections, not because they actually have more voters, but because they cheated. 4-1, 4-1. Get rid of all the fucking Republicans. Hey, it's not my idea. It's your idea. You want to keep doing voter purges? Let's do voter purges, okay? It's not my idea. You like it? Hey guys, you know what? I'm so fucking concerned about voter fraud. I think you were right. California, world's 7th largest economy by itself. Man, I hear a lot of Republicans moved recently. Let's look into it. Okay, then we can pass single payer, we can pass anything we want. Two can play at that game. Of course they won't do anything like that because they are actually weak. Help us build independent media together. Come join us, tytnetwork.com/join.